What's up guys, my name is Ace, and now that we finally covered all of the Modern Warfare 3 guns for my gun guide series, it's time to get into the Modern Warfare 2 weapons. And well, I've decided that I'm not going to go through every single gun individually and make an entire gun guide for each Modern Warfare 2 gun. What I am going to be doing is a general overview of each class of the Modern Warfare 2 weapons. So we're going to be looking at a general comparison of these so you can see how they stack up against each other. And then toward the end of the video, I'll be sharing a handful of my favorite guns and setups to use within that particular class of weapons. And starting it off with the first episode of this, we're going to be covering the Modern Warfare 2 Assault Rifles. And diving right in, let's have a look at our range and time to kill comparison with these assault rifles. And we're going to start it off here with the assault rifles that kill in 5 shots up close. I had to separate this into 2 separate graphics just because there's so many of these. It's too many to put in one image. And I'm not going to pull out every single one of these guns and talk about them in great detail. However, just for ease of viewing, if you're looking for like optimal time to kill values, I wanted to highlight all of the assault rifles that are capable of killing in 300 milliseconds or less within their maximum damage range. And in the case of 5-shot kill assault rifles, these are the M4, the M13B, the Chimera, the Tempus Razorback, and the FR Avancer. So these ones, at least time to kill wise, will generally perform average to above average in relation to the Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles in this game, and that's why I wanted to highlight them specifically. That's not to say that the ones I didn't highlight are completely unusable or anything, it's just they're generally not going to be optimal when you consider the fact that Modern Warfare 2 guns have other downsides relative to the Modern Warfare 3 guns. But like I said, those are the assault rifles that are killing in 5 shots up close. We also have another set of assault rifles that are capable of killing in 4 shots in the maximum damage range. So here's the range comparison of these ones, and again, I'm just going to highlight the ones that kill in 300 milliseconds or less, although the M16 is really close to that threshold at 302 milliseconds, so basically all of these do quite well in the time to kill department. But it is worth noting here, especially with the Kastov 74U, that one's got a very short 4-shot kill range, and as a result, I actually don't really like using that gun in this game, whereas the other 4-shot kill ones, most of them are generally quite good. And there we go, that's a basic range and time to kill comparison. You guys can go back and screenshot those images or pause if you really want to take a deep look at them. The next most important stat to look at here, in my opinion at least, is recoil. So let's just have a look again at just a quick general recoil comparison. This time I've got all of the assault rifles in one image. And again, feel free to pause or take a screenshot of this one. This one's just for your own general reference when you're creating a class setup or trying to look at like the most accurate Modern Warfare 2 assault rifle, for instance. This should get you on the right track when it comes to that stuff. Generally speaking, I find the easiest Modern Warfare 2 assault rifles to control are going to be the M13B and the ISO Hemlock. Those two I do consider to be standouts in this area, although they're not the only ones that can be made to be accurate. It is just worth noting, with Modern Warfare 2 guns, they tend to have a lot more visual recoil and a lot more shake to them as you're firing, and that can often throw you off target compared to the Modern Warfare 3 guns that just don't have nearly as much of that. And honestly, those are the 2 most important areas that I wanted to point out with this video. When it comes to all of the other stats like handling and mobility, generally speaking, the Modern Warfare 2 assault rifles are pretty well in line with the Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles. They weren't at launch, but a lot of those values have been adjusted since then. And therefore, I don't think it's really worth showing a full comparison here, because you can also see those values for yourself when just looking at the advanced stats. So now let's get into some tips for creating builds with Modern Warfare 2 assault rifles, since I do generally take a very different approach to building my Modern Warfare 3 guns. And the main reason for this, and the first thing to be aware of, is Modern Warfare 2 barrels and stocks tend to be horrible attachments that have more downsides than upsides, and as a result, I almost never use barrels or stocks on my Modern Warfare 2 guns. And this is still one of the biggest areas that holds back the Modern Warfare 2 guns relative to the Modern Warfare 3 ones, because oftentimes the base stats are actually quite comparable between Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 guns. It's the attachments that really separate them now. And speaking of attachments, let's get into a handful of key attachments that I specifically look for when creating Modern Warfare 2 builds. I'm not saying you always need to use these attachments, they're just ones that I find pop up more often on my builds for Modern Warfare 2 guns because they tend to help with the specific downsides that we're dealing with. And the first one is in the underbarrel category. This is the MWII Heavy Support Grip. And the big reason I like using this one is not only do we get a nice horizontal recoil benefit out of this, we also get a great benefit to our recoil gun kick, and that's something that these Modern Warfare 2 guns often need. So that's an excellent choice, but an alternative that I also like to keep an eye on is the MWII Pivot Vertical Grip. And the reason I like this one is not only does it give you a better gun kick benefit compared to the MWII Heavy Support Grip, it also gives you firing aim stability, which is a very important stat that isn't quantified anywhere in the advanced stats. And this is a stat that you can usually improve really drastically for Modern Warfare 3 guns in the stock category, but like I said, the Modern Warfare 2 stocks tend to suck, and they don't give you any improvements here. So as a result, with many of the Modern Warfare 2 guns at least, I like squeezing out firing aim stability wherever possible. And that leads me to the next attachment that I really like to look out for now with Modern Warfare 2 guns. This is the recently added Jack Glassless optic. And again, the reason I like leaning toward this one, aside from the fact that it's a nice looking optic, it looks pretty good, I do like the sight picture that you get with it, it also helps a bit with our firing aim stability. And again, I'm often trying to squeeze that in there when it comes to my Modern Warfare 2 builds. And this just leaves us with one last attachment that I really want you to keep an eye out for when creating Modern Warfare 2 builds. And this one I would actually say is pretty much a must-have on most of my Modern Warfare 2 builds. This is the rear grip that's going to help you with your recoil control. Now, this will go by a different name depending on the gun that you're using, but just look in that rear grip section for the one that's going to improve all of our recoil stats in the advanced stats by 7%. That one tends to have very little downside with some nice recoil upsides that you can't necessarily gain in the same way with barrel attachments, unlike Modern Warfare 3 guns. And with all of that in mind, let's get into some of my favorite Modern Warfare 2 guns and attachment setups to use in Modern Warfare 3. And I've actually got quite a few here. I'm going to be sharing my top 8 Modern Warfare 2 assault rifle setups. And starting it off with number 8, we've got the TR-76 Geist. And with this one, I'm using the Lockshot KT-85 muzzle, the FTAC SP-10 angled grip, the 1mW quickfire laser, the Jack Glassless optic, and then finally the STIP 66 grip, which helps with our recoil. And with this one, we actually get quite an accurate gun on our hands. It's pretty accurate, easy to control. Our time to kill potential up close is excellent at 282 milliseconds, but we are hurting our aim down sight speed a little bit. It's 313 milliseconds, which means you generally don't want to be sprinting around like a madman with this gun. But if you play a bit more conservatively, you can actually make this gun work quite effectively. Then let's get into the Chimera, and the nice thing about this one is you do get that free integrated suppressor. We're using the Bruin Pivot vertical underbarrel. I just found that helped quite nicely with the Chimera specifically. We're once again using the 1mW quickfire laser. I put the Mark III reflector on this just because I felt like I didn't really need the Jack Glassless optic here, and I didn't want to hurt my aim down sight speed any more than I have to. We're using the D37 rear grip, and then finally a 45 round magazine since we're going to burn through those mags fairly quickly. And with this one, it's reasonably accurate. It kicks basically straight up initially, and then it'll cut a bit to the left. You will have to pull down on that recoil a fair amount for those initial shots fired, but as long as you're keeping yourself close to mid-range, this is more than accurate enough for those ranges. Then when it comes to our base time to kill to the body, this is 300 milliseconds, which isn't bad by any means. It's basically average for an assault rifle, but the key with the Chimera is it has a high headshot multiplier, and therefore it's one of the few guns in this game that will benefit from a single headshot mixed in with body shots, which will cut it down to a 4-shot kill and allow us to kill in just 225 milliseconds, which is a very fast time to kill in this game. And that's really where the Chimera shines. So if you are using this, try to mix that headshot in. It will make a big difference. After that, getting into number 6 on my list here, we've got the Kastov 7.62. And with this one, it's one of the few ones that I'm going to use the Jack BFB muzzle on just because it has a fair amount of recoil by default, and I really want to limit that as much as possible. We're using the FTAC SP-10 angled grip, the Schlager PECBOX 4 laser, the Jack Glassless optic, and finally the Demo X2 grip. And with this one, it actually turns the Kastov 7.62 into a very accurate gun, very easy to control as well. Our aim down sight time's a little on the slower side, but not that horrible at 291 milliseconds. And with this gun, it's going to be a super consistent 4-shot kill in the maximum damage range, since you can shoot them anywhere in the body and it will still be a 4-shot kill for a 300 millisecond time to kill. After that, let's get into the ISO Hemlock, and this one I actually really like. It's one of the few that I like using a suppressor on since it doesn't need that much help in the recoil department. We're also using the SL Skeletal vertical underbarrel, the Schlager PECBOX 4 laser, the Mark III reflector optic, and then finally the Sakin ZX grip. And with this one, we have a super accurate gun on our hands. I mean, it's pretty accurate by default, but that's one of the big upsides. And it's one of the few Modern Warfare 2 assault rifles where I was able to improve the handling stats while still having good recoil. So you can actually be fairly aggressive with this, and just like with the previous build, we're killing in exactly 300 milliseconds, at least within that maximum damage range, which is quite nice. Next, let's move into the FR Avancer, and this gun wasn't very good at launch for Modern Warfare 3, but it has received some buffs over time, and it got quite good actually, especially in tac stance. I actually really like using this gun in tac stance. And this is the build I like using. With this, we're using the Bruin Bastion angle grip, the 395mm FR mini bore barrel, the 1mW laser box, the RMT rear grip, and then finally the 45 round mag. And with this one, we have a very good time to kill potential up close at 260 milliseconds. Our new tac stance spread is quite tight at just 1.4 degrees. And also it is worth noting our hipfire is great with this as well. So this is good with hipfire as well as tac stance. Our aim down sight speed's a little bit on the slow side at 301 milliseconds, but that doesn't really matter since we're using tac stance and hipfire. Our sprint out time is improved a little bit here at 181 milliseconds, and we have reduced our range and bullet velocity values a bit, but those aren't too relevant since we're going to be using this primarily for like close to mid-range engagements. We're not going to be stretching out too far while using tac stance. Then let's get into number 3 on my list. This is the Tempus Razorback, and with this one, I'm using the Sack and Tread 40 muzzle, the SL Skeletal vertical underbarrel, the Jack glassless optic, the ERG X1 rear grip, and then finally the 45 round magazine. And with this one, you can see we've got a pretty accurate gun on our hands, especially for those initial shots that you fire. They tend to kick basically straight upwards, although sometimes you will get a random horizontal jump. There's really nothing you can do about that with this gun though. But as long as you're not stretching your ranges out super far, this recoil should be more than good enough. Our aim down sight speed's also quite decent at 273 milliseconds, and our sprint out time is very good for an assault rifle at 144 milliseconds. When you add the fact that we can kill in just 288 milliseconds with this gun up close, this actually makes this a great option for kind of like a flex roll. I would use this more for like close to mid ranges. I don't like stretching out too far, even though you can still manage it. It's not really going to excel at longer ranges. It's primarily going to dominate in those mid-range engagements. After that, we've got the M4, and the M4 is actually quite a good gun in Modern Warfare 3. With this build that I like using, I've got the 11.5-inch TH4 barrel, the T51R billeted brake combined with the FTAC SP10 angled grip. We once again have that Jack glassless optic for that little bit of firing aim stability, and then finally the SAC and ZX grip. And with this one, this gun is very, very accurate, super easy to control. You can stretch ranges out even across the map, no problem. Our aim down sight speed's also very solid at 230 milliseconds, especially when you consider how accurate this is. That's an incredible aim down sight speed. Our sprint out time's unchanged, it's 210 milliseconds, so just kind of average for an assault rifle. And while I did hurt our range and bullet velocity a bit with this build, I like using the M4 fairly aggressively, and therefore, for me at least, for this particular build that I was going for, I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the better handling. And then finally, this leaves us with my favorite Modern Warfare 2 assault rifle to use in Modern Warfare 3, and honestly, I think this gun holds its own just fine, even against some of the better Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles. This is the M13B. And with this one, I'm using the T51R billeted brake, the Bruin Heavy Support underbarrel, the Jack glassless optic, the Bruin Flash V4 stock, and then finally the D37 rear grip. And with this one, you can see the recoil is super tight. Those bullets are all grouped very, very tight together. There's no big jumps or anything with that. So you can stretch your ranges no problem. Also, we managed to keep our handling quite good at 255 milliseconds for our aim down sight speed and 210 milliseconds for our sprint out time. We did hurt our range and bullet velocity just a little bit with this class setup. And finally, it is worth mentioning, we have a nice time to kill potential with this at 284 milliseconds, so it's going to be highly competitive with even those Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles that tend to be better than Modern Warfare 2 ones. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's video on the Modern Warfare 2 assault rifles, as well as some of my favorite class setups to use with those. Now, of course, these are just my top picks, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the Modern Warfare 2 assault rifles in those comments down below. Do you like using any of the Modern Warfare 2 assault rifles? And if so, which ones do you tend to lean toward? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.